Hello, I'm Emil Yuzhovsky from the Israeli Embassy in Warsaw. I'd like to welcome you on the first panel of the Wolf Summit, the Israeli Startup Magic, and I would like to welcome our speakers here, connecting with us from Israel. We have Yoav Fisher, a representative of a government agency, Health IL, a part of the Israeli Innovation Authority. We have Lali David, a partner at a VC, Israeli VC called Our Crowd. And we have Tal Catran here with us, an incubator, accelerator. He calls himself accelerator guru also, and we also hopefully will have soon connected with us Rena Thomas from a successful startup is from Vegan Nation, a startup called Vegan Nation, and I hope she will join us soon. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us, and I would like to maybe ask you, Lali, first, why isn't a failure in Israel a bad thing? And we would like to speak about the Israeli ecosystem of innovation. So, from your point of view as a VC, how do you see that?
Right. Well, I think the Israeli ecosystem is very known for the speed of innovation, and entrepreneurs are very speedy. And failure is part of any speedy process. You know, you think about what you learn in life, and you learn more from failure than from success. But when you integrate time into that, and you have to invent and reinvent and reinvent and try again and try it differently, then obviously failure is very much a part of it. So we try, we fail, we continue.
Thank you, Lali. Is there anything you want to add as the Tal, as to how does the creation of the ecosystem of innovation in Israel happen? Maybe you would like to add something to that.
First, we need to, first of all, hello, good morning, everyone. Great to be here on the Wolf Summit. This is my second edition. My first was in June, so I'm happy to be here. Well, you know, Israel is regarded as a startup nation, and that is not just because the sheer huge number of startups that we have per capita here in Israel, for the fact that Israel actually started, like every startup, we had a CEO, a visionary, Herzl came up with an idea. Basel, 1898, said, hey, the Jews need to have their own country. Nothing really happened for the coming 50 years until Ben-Gurion, as our CTO, made Israel. So in a way, Israel started like every other startup with a guy who is a visionary, doesn't have a clue about technology, how to make it. And then comes along his partner, the technical person. His feet are very much on the ground. He knows the rules of physics. And then he comes up with this. Just to say that the major players, we say, for the ecosystem would be academy. And we say your industry is as good as your academy. And Israel is known to be a very highly educated country, for at least for second and third degrees as well. So education has a large part in it. By the way, we teach cyber from age 9. We teach Chinese because we see the Chinese are now taking over the world in a way. So we are very ready for the future. We don't just, wait. Again, very quick, very agile, like every startup. So you have academy, industry, then municipality, government, and of course, money. That's just to say the ecosystem.
Yes, thank you, Tal. Yoav, from your point of view, what is your source of success of the Startup Nation as also a governmental institution that promotes health technologies?
So I want to say that in Israel specifically, there's a number of stars that need to align, not just the government, private sector, economic motivations, geopolitical factors, cultural factors. I mean, just off the top of my head, Israel has a very distinct history of innovation that is based on necessity. It's important. High concentration of technical talent. There's a lot of support from governmental actors. There's a lot of industry partners willing to be open and collaborate. And on top of that, there's an infrastructure. financing innovation. Governmental policy can help pull and push all of these factors as well. Except for first with the innovation out of necessity. But I want to say that even with all of this, there are many nuances and complexities when you dig further down, especially when you open kind of the onion for each sector. I can tell you from my experience in healthcare that there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of governmental support, there's a lot of money, some would say even too much. But even then, there's significant challenges and nuances that need to be addressed. Things like infrastructure, cloud policy, healthcare, funding gap, investor and experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you very much. So also to all of you, how the harsh environment of Israel and both geopolitically harsh environment and also the lack of natural resources influenced the creation of the startup nation and becoming the second Silicon Valley, Valley. That's how it's also called.
I think maybe the fact that there is no local market is a strong factor in the sense that every entrepreneur that you meet in Israel, at least pre-COVID, had a flight ticket to go somewhere and meet someone. You always have a flight planned already. So the local market is a non-existing market. In the best case, it's a market for a beta site, but it's a non-market. So from the get-go, the Israeli entrepreneurs are very much globally minded and globally ready. And the architecture of every startup, whether it's not only the language, but it's really the architecture of any product is meant to be global and scalable.
I would say that we like it easy like everyone else, but we are very accustomed to tough, and harshness is part of our lives from day of inception. This is Israel, and we have what we call the sense of urgency, and nothing here is taken for granted from survival onwards. By the way, same again like startups. I mean, 96% of startups shut down first year. So Israel, in a way, in some aspects, is what we call TBD, to be decided. We're not sure if we're going to raise money from the Americans or not. And again, this sense really gets you to be very vigilant, very ready all the time. You're asking questions, you get things done. You don't sit on your ass waiting for luck to fall into your lap. You just go out there and you reach out and you grab it. And this is why Israelis in some cases are known to be a bit more aggressive, maybe more tough. But I think this, again, only keeps us vigilant, very open. I think we are a hub of innovation for the entire world, again, because we decided, as you said, geopolitically, that we can rely on ourselves to help ourselves. This is why, by the way, Israel manufactures everything aside from cars. That we leave to others. I mean, the world needs to get something from us. So everything else we do by ourselves, which again, started as something that we need. Very quickly we saw the entire world needs it. And this is why our ecosystem, our industry is very prosperous.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Yoav also, how do you see the role of the government and its investment in the beginnings of the Israeli ecosystem in the late 80s, 90s? It's been crucial, but how do you see the role now? And I'm also directing it to you because of now as a time of COVID-19, and you've been working on health technologies.
So you're right. Israel was always involved from the government perspective in the early 80s and 90s. There's a lot of examples. Was very involved with creating homegrown capital community in the late 80s up through pretty late 90s. And this continues. The only difference is that involvement of the government changes. With Corona, was personally very involved with the government during the first wave of the chaos and that calamity. And the government there was very much involved. Equipment, working with our industry partners.
Just try to speak a bit slower, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I was very involved personally during the first wave of Corona. And the government was involved in many different ways, from helping secure PPE with our industry, with working with me to screen and source every single startup that could help. There were funding tracks created specifically during the months of March and April that are still around. And the government is still involved now going forward, including testing solutions that could be implemented throughout the system, working in conjunction with organizations like I work to assess needs and challenges. The point is that the government involvement changes over time. And it's always there in one fashion or another. But yes, it's actively involved.
I want to say something from the side of the ecosystem towards the government, because in my many travels worldwide, and I operate just in 25 countries, mostly in Eastern Europe, the question is, how is your government so much involved? Ours is not so much involved. They don't want to hear us too much. And the answer, I would say, is very simple. The government takes money from citizens. She needs to report back and say what it's done with their money. When the government wants to spray and pray money, spray it on the ecosystem, it knows that it will get the question asking, who did you give the money to? Those people were never educated for entrepreneurship. No one taught them. By the way, entrepreneurship can be taught. They were never taught, okay? No one is mentoring, or they do get mentorship, but maybe not on an international, you need professionals on board. So the Israeli government works the same way. It's a true investors. It looks for an ROI. Our government also expects to get something in return. Don't just take my money and do whatever you want with it. When the understanding that the government operates like any other investor, and that it secures its money not with everyone, but it also pre-selects the ones with the most chances of succeeding, like any investor. I mean, for us, it really works. But no doubt, governments are the big initiators. They have tons of money. For them to spread 100 million euros on the ecosystem is not a big deal. Again, they need to explain where the money is going. So they need to be secure that the people getting the money know what to do with it. And this is what we're trying to do in many other programs that we have all around Europe, is really to train more, to give more knowledge, more skills, those toolbox to the entrepreneurs, what to do and how to do it.
Yes, thank you. Lali, what is one in your, I would like to go a bit and think about the future. What is the, in your opinion, as a investor, really, VC, what in your opinion is the next technology that our sector that is worth investing in and will be a game changer in the future?
Right.
And do you see it somewhere sparkling already?
Yeah, no, I'll start by saying that we are a very interdisciplinary investor. We invest across sectors, across stages, across geographies, with the majority of the investment being in Israel. We altogether have more than 200 different investments in direct startups. We have 4 government-backed incubators. We have 22 different funds. So we are kind of all over the place in terms of stage, sector, and geographies. And I think the answer in a way hasn't changed pre-COVID and post-COVID, in the sense that everything has to be AI enabled. And this is sort of a cliche already. Everyone knows that everything has to be AI enabled. I think what's more precise now is that the AI enabled technologies applicable to digitalizing everything, from remote healthcare to remote work to remote education. Like, it really is now is the time that innovation and digitalization is really exponential. And you can hear those quotes from global leaders everywhere. But we see that also in the actual investment arena. We've just launched a fund to focus on pandemic-related technologies, both in healthcare and what we call the new normal, because it really is relevant across the board.
Thank you. It's quite big here in Poland also, and AI is becoming something of a phenomenon also here in the region, CE region. So I think also one of the last questions, because we're also finishing our time, I'd like to ask all of you a short, what is the thing that Poland can learn, and the CE region, from the Israeli case, and maybe a short lesson that you would give. Yoav, maybe you first.
Sure. I will say that no two innovation ecosystems are the same, and I think Poland has a ton of potential, but the solution will look uniquely Polish, meaning every country needs to look at what their actual value add is. For example, if you look at like the Benelux region, they have their own twist on building a financial infrastructure that is based on regional development, right?
Yeah, I think we have to finish. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I would like to thank you very much, all of you, for joining me. I'm sorry that we couldn't have Rena here due to technical problems, but Lali, Tal, Yoav, you've been great, and hopefully see you soon, and have a great day. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Back
Shalom.
to you. Wolf Summit, back to you.